Modern day horse riders in the middle of a city? Well, giddy up and let's talk about Concrete Cowboy, the new Netflix film starring my man crush, Idris Elba. While spending the summer in North Philadelphia, a troubled teen is caught between a life of crime and his estranged father's vibrant urban cowboy subculture. Idris Elba, McLaughlin, Jharrel Jerome, and Method Man star in this drama that takes a look at a group of people you may not know were around. I'd never heard of these groups. So there's this neighborhood in North Philly that has a horse stable and a small community of modern-day cowboys. They're the caretakers of the Fletcher Street stables. Idris Elba is Harp, kind of the head cowboy. He's a father figure to a lot of the others, and he looks out for them. And I like that he's gruff, but we also see care, compassion, dignity, and conviction. And there are some real moments where he shines in this, but surprisingly, for being first billed, he's got less screen time than his on-screen son, played by McLaughlin. McLaughlin as Cole is kind of a punk kid, or at least he comes off that way. At the very least, he's an angry young man, and he's got some right because he feels abandoned by his dad, who he's never really spent any time with. And when he's plopped on his dad's doorstep for the summer, he's got to adapt pretty quickly, or find a way out. And we get to watch some growth in Cole, which I really enjoyed, but I'm not sure all of it is earned in what we see. I do like his progression and began to be drawn to the character. We see a lot of potential there, and I really wanted to watch it be realized. And just like when I saw him in When They See Us, Jharrel Jerome is wonderful in this as well. He plays a character called Smush. Now, can we just appreciate what a great character name that is? I mean, I think it'd be more fitting for a chubby character, but I still love the name. Smush and Cole hit it off, mainly because neither of them like their circumstances. And I really like that there is so much more than what's on the surface with Smush. And the character epitomizes the concept of not judging a book by its cover, and that concept, it's executed really well. Method Man plays a former urban cowboy, now turned police officer. And while he's not in this a lot, nor is he the main focus, he does get some opportunities to stand out, and I liked him. So overall, this story, which is based on the novel Ghetto Cowboy, is fairly predictable. We've seen these types of character stories many times before. You have a troubled person who gets put into a situation that is foreign to them, forcing them to run from the situation or to make some life changes. Along the way, there are some people in that person's life that offer wisdom and new perspectives, which make the troubled person rethink their trajectory. And typically, someplace during all of this, some sort of tragedy occurs which accelerates the behavior and the mindset shift. But just because the story is predictable in its tale, that doesn't mean that the performances should be missed. The actors are really what sell this story. The dialogue is pretty powerful at times too. Some of the messages are blatantly spelled out, but most are more subtle in their delivery. And to watch some of the best dialogue come from the more background characters was great, and it was even more effective. And while we watch, because we're seeing the emotional and maturity journey of Cole, we get to see two colliding worlds. There are the cowboys, and then there are the streets. The streets are obviously tough with challenges of drugs and violence. The cowboys bring other challenges, but theirs don't typically end in prison or death. There's conflict that surrounds Smush and Cole, but I never really felt a lot of tension because of it. The setup and situation are meant to create a breaking point for the characters, and in a way it does. But it also feels rushed. There were a few times, and it was especially at the beginning, where we see some vague action, but not context. Only later in another scene do we see some dots connect to what was previously going on. And I get how the story is trying to set up the conflict and where its outcome is going to lead us, but it felt disjointed, and maybe that's just because a lot of it is skipped over and we just see brief glimpses of action to support that conflict. Now, even though this drama deals with some dark and dour feelings, there is a story of hope in here as well. I think that positivity does shine through to not leave you just all depressed when the story concludes. For me, the pace felt a little uneven. Parts of the story felt rushed and smoothed over. I mean, I said earlier that Cole's progression didn't necessarily feel like he earned it. Because I'm rooting for the character, I think I may have closed more of those gaps than the story actually did. I mean, the story takes place over a summer, and the time is kind of hard to judge. I never got the sense that weeks were going by. It really just felt like several days or maybe 2 weeks at the most. We watched Cole take part in some of the cowboy activities, and with those comes some great conversations. But also, I'm not sure enough was shown of Cole actually taking part in the stuff that will get him the growth. And that's what I meant by closing the gaps. I mean, even though I didn't watch Cole do all of the hard work necessary to create change, I wanted him to succeed. So my brain says it's okay. He's seen some tough stuff, he's heard some good advice, so now it will make sense that he grows. At the end of it, does it ultimately bother me that all of the opportunities for growth aren't shown? Not really. I mean, I'd like to have seen more, especially since I believe it would have made the story even more compelling, but it's not lacking to such a degree that any change comes from just out of the blue. Something that I didn't realize is that a few of the cowboy characters are actually urban cowboys from the location depicted in the film. And one of them was my favorite character in the film. His name is Paris, and his performance is not only touching, but it gives one of the most emotional moments in the story. And I guess maybe that's because he's able to pull from his actual environment and use that to build his performance. Overall, this was a decent watch, and while not all of the character growth we see feels totally earned, and some of the sequences and conflict feel rushed, the story is still engaging and it's a little inspiring. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and some violence. I give Concrete Cowboy 3 out of 5 couches. So if you've been looking forward to this one, let me know what you thought of the movie in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me. Like a rhinestone cowboy, touched for the very first time. Yeah, that has 2 songs that... Okay, I'm sorry, I'm stupid. Please don't unsubscribe.